The W's first inside the game stat, powered by AWS Cloud, measures the players who shift defenses and change the game with every touch. Follow along all season as we track the top 5 leaders and how they impact every possession.
The WNBA just released their first AI-powered stat of the season. It's called Gravity, measuring which players pull defenders toward them and change defensive schemes with every touch. Sounds reasonable, right? Track which players command the most defensive attention, who forces teams to adjust their entire game plan. Except there's one massive problem. The player who gets face-guarded 94 feet down the court, the one who forces double teams at half court, the one defenders are literally draped across before she even touches the ball. She's not on the list, not in the top 5, not even close.
What? Kayla McBride, okay. Ryan Howard, Kaylee Copper, what are we doing? Let's go over here and get some definitions, shall we? We literally need to find, let's get a dictionary definition. We need a thesaurus. Can we get an Encyclopedia Britannica in here? I'm going to tell you, guys, I grew up a huge baseball fan.
Let's look at who actually made this list. Sabrina Ionescu at number 1. Absolutely elite player, no question. But then we've got Marina Mabrey at number 2. Kelsey Plum 3rd. Kayla Copper 4th. Arike Ogunbowale 5th. Now here's what's fascinating about this selection. These are all excellent players, but if you asked any casual fan to name the one player in the WNBA who literally warps defensive schemes just by crossing half court, who gets trapped and doubled 40 feet from the basket, whose gravity is so intense that defenders start picking her up in the backcourt, there's only one name that comes to mind. And somehow, Amazon's AI algorithm missed her entirely.
Seriously. So, gravity quantifies how much a player pulls defenders towards them above expected. Wins above replacement. WAR. Essentially measuring how much attention they draw compared to what spacing on the floor predicts. Well, there's only one player in the league I see that literally has somebody draped across her back.
The WNBA's official definition says gravity quantifies how much a player pulls defenders towards them above expected, essentially measuring how much attention they draw compared to what spacing on the floor predicts. That's the metric. Defensive attention beyond what floor spacing would normally generate. So let's apply some basic logic here. We've watched an entire season of one specific player getting full court pressed in regular season games. Not playoff games, regular season matchups in June and July. Defenders picking her up at the opposing free throw line. Box and one defenses designed specifically to contain her. And according to this gravity metric, she ranks below Sophie Cunningham.
Caitlin Clark's way down here. Despite the fact that we see these players draped all over her, and they have to come out and try to grab her before she knocks down a 35-footer. But we're supposed to buy that, hey, we created something, we manufactured something that is going to put all these players ahead. I mean, AZ Fudd, really? Might as well be Elmer Fudd. I mean, come on. I can't do it with this league.
Here's where the numbers become impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark is averaging 23.8 points per game this season, first in the league. She's averaging 9.5 assists per game, also first in the league. She leads the league in fantasy points. She's 4th in efficiency rating. She's recorded 12 games with 20 points and 10 assists, the most in WNBA history. Not the most this season, the most ever. She's shooting 43% from the field, 35% from three-point range, and 96.4% from the free throw line. She's 6th in three-pointers made despite missing a game. Every advanced metric, every traditional stat, every measure of offensive impact has her at or near the top of the league. But gravity? Somehow she's ranked 15th.
Right here, Amazon. Historic Caitlin, most games in WNBA history, 12, with 20 points and 10 assists. How about the leaders in the league? Caitlin Clark's 3rd in points per game. She's 1st in assists. What are we doing? She's 1, 2, 3, 4th in efficiency. 1st in fantasy points.
The reaction online was immediate and brutal. Fans started pulling up clips showing exactly what defensive gravity actually looks like in practice. Full court pressure, trap defenses at half court, defenders abandoning their assignments to help on her drives. Teams running box and one schemes in regular season games, a defensive alignment most teams save for playoff emergencies. One fan posted a side-by-side comparison, Marina Marbury, who ranked second in gravity, getting normal defensive coverage. Caitlin Clark getting double-teamed at the three-point line before she even calls for the ball. The contrast wasn't subtle, it was laughable.
He is wild. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, literally, yeah. Yeah. Mabry, laughing my effing ass off. The only thing she changes is her crusty underwear, and that's not very often, probably. Yeesh. Yeesh. Is this the same company that has down your atrocious scheduling? Oh, yeah, what is up with all these games? Like, we're going to bunch games together, and then there's nothing for days on end?
Now let's talk about what this metric was supposedly measuring. AWS Cloud Technology analyzing defensive positioning, tracking how defenders shift based on player movement, quantifying attention beyond what floor spacing predicts. That's sophisticated analysis. That requires processing thousands of defensive possessions, mapping defender positions relative to offensive players, calculating deviation from expected positioning. That's not a simple stat. That's complex machine learning analyzing spatial data across an entire season. Which means someone had to design the algorithm, someone had to define what counts as defensive attention, someone had to set the parameters for what qualifies as gravity versus normal defensive positioning. And somehow, those parameters produced a list where the most visibly defended player in the league doesn't crack the top 10.
Yeesh. Yeesh. Is this the same company that has down your atrocious scheduling? Oh, yeah, what is up with all these games? Like, we're going to bunch games together and then there's nothing for days on end? What is going on here? Although
the timing makes this even more suspect. The WNBA has spent this entire season dealing with a massive divide in their fan base. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new viewers, 3.2 million for her playoff debut, the highest-rated WNBA game in decades. But that success created tension. Veteran players made comments about new fans. Media members questioned whether her popularity was deserved. The league seemed caught between capitalizing on her star power and protecting the established hierarchy. And now, right as the season's winding down, they release a brand new stat that somehow excludes her from the top tier. A stat that's never been tracked before. A stat with no historical context. A stat that contradicts what anyone watching the games can see with their own eyes.
It's a better list. Why are you lying? Yeah. I mean, wow. Damn, is AWS strapped for cash that they need to shove AI in our face even with WNBA media? Instead of using this AI slop that doesn't actually show anything, why don't you release the players of the week? I mean, we're here.
Let's compare this to how other leagues handle their stars. The NBA doesn't create metrics that diminish LeBron James or Steph Curry. The NFL doesn't invent stats that exclude Patrick Mahomes from greatness conversations. When you have a generational talent, a player bringing unprecedented attention and revenue to your league, you celebrate them. You build marketing campaigns around them. You make them the face of your growth. The WNBA took a different approach. They created a metric that, intentionally or not, excludes their biggest star from elite status. And they partnered with Amazon Web Services to do it, giving it the credibility of advanced technology and sophisticated analysis. This wasn't some random blog post. This was an official league stat, promoted on their main social media accounts, presented as objective measurement of player impact.
Okay. Oh, shit. This league. Peace, I'm out. Make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. The W. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment.
The backlash was so intense that the WNBA's social media comments became completely unusable. Thousands of fans pointing out the obvious flaw. Hundreds of people posting video evidence contradicting the rankings. Media members who normally defend every league decision started asking questions. Even some analysts who'd been critical of Caitlin Clark's popularity admitted this metric made no sense. One comment summed it up perfectly. All those people on your list are left wide open all the time. How do they have gravity? Because that's the fundamental question. If gravity measures defensive attention, and we can all watch games and see who gets the most defensive attention, how does the metric produce rankings that contradict observable reality? Here's what makes this significant beyond just one controversial stat. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They're experiencing unprecedented growth, driven largely by one player's popularity and performance. Attendance is up, ratings are up, merchandise sales are up. But instead of embracing that success and building on it, the league keeps finding ways to diminish the player responsible for it. First, it was the scheduling, bunching games together, then going days without any action, making it nearly impossible for casual fans to follow consistently. Then it was the Player of the Week awards, where dominant performances somehow didn't result in recognition. Then it was the All-Star voting controversy, where the league seemed uncomfortable with how popular she'd become. And now it's this gravity stat, using AI and advanced analytics to create a ranking that excludes her from elite status. Each individual incident might be explainable. Maybe the scheduling is just logistical challenges. Maybe the awards voting had legitimate reasons. Maybe this gravity metric has some technical justification we're not seeing. But when you add them all together, a pattern emerges. The league appears actively resistant to fully embracing their biggest star. Think about what that means for growth. You have a player who brought millions of new fans to your sport, fans who'd never watched WNBA games before, fans who started following the league specifically because of her. Those fans are now watching other players, learning about the league, buying merchandise, attending games. That's exactly how you build a sustainable fan base. You hook them with one star, then expose them to the depth of talent across the league. But instead of nurturing those new fans, the league keeps creating friction. They release stats that contradict what those fans see with their own eyes. They schedule games in ways that make it hard to follow consistently. They seem more interested in protecting the old guard than celebrating the new star. And every time they do this, they risk alienating the very fans they need to sustain this growth. The gravity stat is particularly egregious because it uses the veneer of objectivity. This isn't a subjective award voted on by media members. This is AI-powered analysis, tracking defender positioning across thousands of possessions. It's presented as pure data, unbiased measurement of defensive impact. But the results are so obviously flawed that it undermines the credibility of the entire metric. And here's the thing. The WNBA has legitimate advanced stats that show Caitlin Clark's impact. Her assist-to-turnover ratio, her usage rate, her effective field goal percentage, her win shares. All of those metrics, which have been used for years and have established credibility, show her as an elite player. But those stats don't generate headlines. They don't create social media buzz. So instead, we get this new gravity metric, designed to be shareable and exciting, that just happens to exclude the league's most popular player from the top tier. The AWS partnership makes this even more problematic. Amazon is a massive corporation with sophisticated data analytics capabilities. They're not some fly-by-night operation creating questionable metrics. They're a tech giant with resources to do this properly. Which means either their algorithm is fundamentally flawed, raising questions about their analytical capabilities, or the parameters were deliberately set to produce these results. Neither option looks good, and let's talk about the players who did make the list. Sabrina Ionescu absolutely deserves recognition. She's an incredible player with elite shooting and playmaking. But does she draw more defensive attention than Caitlin Clark? Watch any Liberty game and any Fever game back-to-back. The defensive schemes aren't comparable. Sabrina gets guarded like an elite scorer. Caitlin gets guarded like a video game character that needs to be contained at all costs. Marina Mabrey is a very good player, but she's not warping defensive schemes. Teams aren't designing their entire game plan around stopping her. She's not getting trapped at half court. The idea that she has more gravity than Caitlin Clark isn't just questionable, it's absurd to anyone who's watched both players. Same with Kelsey Plum, Kayla Copper, and Arike Ogunbowale, all excellent players, all deserving of recognitions. But none of them force the kind of defensive adjustments we see with Caitlin Clark. None of them get face-guarded in the backcourt. None of them draw box-and-one defenses in regular season games. The metric is measuring something, but it's clearly not measuring what most people would define as defensive gravity. The most frustrating part is that this was completely avoidable. The WNBA could have released this metric, seen that it produced questionable results, and adjusted the algorithm before going public. They could have tested it against observable defensive schemes to verify it was measuring what they claimed. They could have asked coaches and players whether the rankings matched their on-court experience. Instead, they pushed it out with Amazon's branding, promoted it on social media, and acted surprised when fans immediately called out the obvious flaws. This is the same league that has struggled with basic operational competence all season. The scheduling has been a mess, the playoff format changes every year, the officiating has been wildly inconsistent. And now they're trying to introduce advanced analytics, but they can't even get the most obvious metric right. It's amateur hour, dressed up with corporate partnership branding. What's the end game here? Because if the goal is to grow the league, this isn't how you do it. You don't alienate your biggest fan base. You don't create metrics that contradict observable reality. You don't use advanced technology to produce results that make your league look incompetent. Every decision like this makes it harder to take the WNBA seriously as a professional sports league. The comparison to other sports is stark. Imagine if the NBA released a metric showing that Steph Curry doesn't actually space the floor. Or if the NFL created a stat proving that Patrick Mahomes doesn't actually extend plays. Fans would revolt. Media would mock it relentlessly. The league would be forced to either defend the metric with concrete evidence or admit it was flawed. But the WNBA seems to think they can just release this, ignore the backlash, and move on. So here's the question for everyone watching. Is this incompetence or intentional? Did Amazon's algorithm genuinely produce these results through flawed parameters, or was this designed to achieve a specific outcome? Because I'm not sure which answer is worse. Incompetence means the league can't handle basic analytics. Intentional manipulation means they're actively working to diminish their biggest star. Either way, it's a terrible look for a league trying to establish credibility and grow their audience. What do you think? Is this just a badly designed metric, or is there something more deliberate going on here? And more importantly, how does the WNBA fix this? Do they admit the metric is flawed? Do they adjust the algorithm? Or do they just ignore the criticism and hope it goes away? Let me know in the comments, because this controversy isn't going away anytime soon.